Welcome back to New Day, everybody. It is 8:31 on Friday morning. Dr. Duncan McKinley joins me this morning, and he is here for a conference on Tourette syndrome, which takes place this weekend, and we'll tell you more about that. Tell us a little bit about the condition, Tourette syndrome, which you have now. Is that a disorder or a condition? How do you qualify that?
Disorder, yes. And actually, that's a good topic to get on. There's probably a lot of questions about exactly what Tourette's is and what it isn't. I think it might be worth doing a little myth busting.
Okay, let's go for it.
Sure.
What are some of the most common myths?
Well, first of all, it's a lot more common than people originally thought. That as many as 1%, perhaps more, have Tourette syndrome. Part of the reason it's much more common than people thought is that there's a very large spectrum of Tourette syndrome. I mean, you can have very mild tics, you can have very pronounced tics. And in fact, the average case, you might see some mild symptoms, some noises, some movements, but you don't see all sorts of extravagant stuff. Another myth, people expect to see swearing. And that's actually a very uncommon tic in Tourette syndrome, but it's TV friendly, so I think it gets a lot of exposure.
Right. Now, is it always physical and verbal?
Not necessarily verbal, as long as you're making some sort of noise. So, for example, or would be considered a phonic tic that would fulfill criteria. You have to have at least one noise in a few different movements.
How old were you when you were diagnosed with Tourette's?
I was 19.
Prior to that, did you know that there was something that not everybody else is like this?
About 7, I started figuring out I had a bit of a secret. And in fact, I think that's why doing these sorts of shows is so important, because what I've learned from my journey is that the time from 7 to 19 not knowing did a whole lot more damage than the symptoms possibly ever could. So
you feel like you're in a shell hiding?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
And the misperceptions that others make, that you make about yourself, and just the development of self-esteem doesn't happen, and you don't know strategies for being able to deal with yourself. And so this is good intervention, and I appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Oh, our pleasure. Is there any form of treatment?
There's psychological treatments that can be used, cognitive behavioral techniques. There's different medications that can be tried. It's really personal preference which direction you go. Alternative treatments, there's various things being tried. Botox, for example, for very loud phonic tics. There's a number of different things.
Well, it's wonderful that you're here and you're going to be doing this speak. When exactly is it? It's Saturday?
It's all day today and all day tomorrow. And if people want to come down, really, they can come down now. They can come down tomorrow. Come down in the morning, spend the day with us, see the sessions. There's educator tracks, there's general tracks, there's stuff for kids and for teenagers. I mean, we try to cover the whole spectrum of person, not only the whole spectrum of disorder.
And that is at the 4 Points Sheridan on Wellington this weekend. And I'm sure a wonderful conference for answering questions and educating. Also, some websites we'd like to let you know about. Life's Twitch.com, which is a great website, and also Tourette.ca. Dr. McGinley, thank you very much for coming in this morning.
I appreciate it.
And have a wonderful conference.
Thank you so much.
Here is your morning news.
A psychologist with Tourette syndrome says this is a great time to have the neurological disorder.
In fact, Dr. Duncan McKinley says that's because awareness has grown tremendously in the last few years, and he's one of the speakers at a national conference being held in London. Health specialist Kathy Wallace has more.
So I just turn it in my hand, open it, flick it, snap it shut, and it helps me cope with my tics.
So if you didn't have something in your hands, what would happen?
This.
12-year-old Robert Johnson of London has Tourette syndrome, a neurological disorder characterized by involuntary movements or vocalizations. The Tourette Syndrome Foundation of Canada has made a point of welcoming children with TS to this conference.
It's the most positive environment you could ever be in. The kids love it because the kids see the teens and the adults who are ticking. So the kids sit there and go, oh my God, I'm not the only one.
Martine Forneville wasn't diagnosed with Tourette's until she was 18.
I used to blink and they thought it was allergies. I had a throat clearing thing. They thought it was postnasal drip. When I was about 16 or 17, my tics started getting worse. We did the whole doctor thing, going to first the family doctor, then being referred to a neurologist, and that's how the diagnosis of Tourette syndrome came out.
still seems to take a long time to have it identified.
Certainly a lot less time than it used to. I'm right at a generational cusp, I guess, where people older than me were a lot older than me when they got diagnosed. They were sort of in their 40s and such. And I got diagnosed at 19 myself, and now the people that are diagnosed after me are getting diagnosed at like 4 and 7.
Dr. McKinley says there is a growing awareness about Tourette syndrome, and he gives a lot of credit to movies and television, but he says too often it's used to get a laugh.
It's probably going to get her better ratings to get the person on with the swearing tick. But I hear more and more, well, just like you yourself, coming up to me saying, well, that's a bit of a myth, isn't it?
If you would like to know more about Tourette syndrome, go to www.tourette.ca or call 1-800-361-3120. In London, Kathy Wallace, News Now.